Thank you all for being here today. I'm pleased to be able to present to you this breakout session on compliance reporting and Unanet. Before I get started, let me introduce myself and my company. My name is Cameron Jenna. I am Synaptech Corporation's CEO. Synaptech has been in business in the U.S. federal government market space since our founding in August of 2008. We had humble beginnings. Beginning in 2009, we've, as a corporation, doubled in size and revenue every year we've been in business, with the exception of entering into the around 2015. It gets hard to double in size, but we have been the winner of the Washington Technology Fast 50 for 4 years in a row now, beginning in 2014. And in that same year, it was the decision of the executive team to adopt the Unanet platforms, which began back in 2014. Subsequent to that, we adopted the general ledger platform that was released by Unanet under the beta program, and have been a user of all of their technology systems and capabilities since that time. We're anxiously awaiting the procurement module, and we'll adopt that when it's made available. So we have a good bit of history with the Unanet platform, and it having grown with us as a company as we've captured work within the federal market. Today, I'm going to focus on how we use the Unanet platforms to manage our business. Unanet is offered as a cloud-based solutions and an on-premise solution. We are an on-premise based customer with Unanet, so if any of you have any questions, please save your questions for the end of the presentation. I'll be happy to field as many questions as we have time for. So with that, I'll go ahead and jump into the agenda. Right here, I'm going to first tackle GSA. Synaptech has a GSA IT 70 schedule. I'm sure many of you transact business in the federal space have your own IT 70 schedules. I'm going to cover how we use Unanet to report out on a quarterly basis. The industrial fund fee, you're required to ante up. For those of you who hold a schedule, those revenue dollars that pass through a schedule, you have to pay the IFF fee. So I'm going to talk about how we use Unanet to track those costs. Then I'm also going to show you how Synaptech is an 8A company. We also code many of our programs that we win, in particular those that are awarded as 8A contracts or 8A sole sources, each annual. Coinciding with our approval into the 8A program, we're required to provide an annual report. And that annual report, among many other things that are required of us, is the reporting out of all contracts and programs that have achieved 8A, were won under the 8A program. Moving forward to that, the GWAC, the BPA, the IDIQ, and what I call the revenue yield. As an executive, you always want to know how your investments are performing and what government-wide acquisition contracts, GWACs, blanket purchase agreements, BPAs, or indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts that you may hold and own and operate and run, how they are performing for you financially against the investments that you're making as a corporation. So I'm going to touch on how we use Unanet to report out on those types of things. And then the last two bullets kind of go together, CSRs and JSRs. CSRs is a Synaptech term that we use to describe contract status reviews. We do these on a quarterly basis. It helps us keep a pulse on the programs that the company has won and how they're being run for our customers. It covers everything from financial performance to staffing to how is the government, how are we doing in terms of our execution of deliverables and so forth. And then lastly, and probably what interests you most, or why many of you may be here today, is talking about how we use Unanet to do cost plus fixed fee work, and how Synaptic has a DCAA approved accounting system. Obviously, we use Unanet GL for that, and how we use the provisionals and actuals to govern our rate pools, which are obviously very important to those of us who do cost plus work. So with that, I'll jump into the presentation. So Unanet has a lot of flexibility as a platform in terms of managing the programs and being able to code things. When a project is awarded, whether it's fixed price work, cost plus work, or time and materials work, you want to note the funding levels, any labor categories that are associated with it. But for us, we use some of the user-defined project setup, user-defined fields to code additional variables against each of the programs upon setup. And what that allows you to do is when you're running ad hoc reporting, either quarterly or annually or whatever timescale you're using, you can run your reports against those pick lists or those project user-defined fields. So here on the screen, I'm showing you a screen snap of our Unanet system that has coded different contracts that we have been awarded, and that allows us on contract award to define what the source of that revenue was. So here you're seeing a defined, pick list where we have set up Unanet to have GSA Schedule, DLA Jets, NRC Glinda, No Link, a small business, GSA 8A Stars, and VA CEC are a number of different contract vehicles that Synaptic has as a prime vehicle. And when we set up our programs, we can drop down this pick list and assign these values to them, which then allows us to do various types of reporting. So for this case, when you win a piece of work against, let's say, your GSA IT 70 schedule, you can just simply select that it's a source schedule GSA by, and then at the end of a quarterly boundary, you can just run out of reports against that, and then you'll know exactly what you need to cut a check for to the GSA folks for the administrative fees. And this is really useful in managing your system because you don't have to do any type of manual intervention or manual interrogation of your contract files. Similarly, as I said earlier, the 8A program, we use the same type of thing to code different types of socioeconomic awards. So in this case, was the program or project awarded as a small business set aside? Was it awarded as an 8A contract? Was it awarded full and open, etc.? And for those of you who manage a portfolio of business, it's often useful to know where are your dollars being best spent. But also in this case, for us, it's a government contractual requirement that we have to report out on this annually, and every dollar that we've won in awards for the 8A program must be provided to the Small Business Administration in our annual report. So these types of tools within the Unanet platform, we find it very useful in managing and running our business. Moving on to contract status reviews. We use OneNote extensively within the company to manage our programs. We're an Office 365 adoption. We adopt those technologies. We've actually been using them since they were previously known as BPOS, or Business Productivity Online Suite. But the OneNote platform allows us to organize program data into tabs. And what you're looking at here is our way of doing the contract status reports, where we have tabs that describe the program, is tab 1, as you can see there to the left, an ISO contractual requirement that will tell us are there any ISO specific requirements for this particular program. Contract status reports is on a quarterly basis. The program teams are required to come to our corporate offices and sit down with the executive team and the financial teams and go over the various aspects of their program. Of course, there's risk management. We also have a past performance write-up for those of you who scramble around writing proposals and need a current past performance write-up. This is how we capture it and update it on a quarterly boundary. Customer communications includes emails, and then of course the deliverables tabs is the final tab. So this screen snap shows a project cost summary report, or a JSR, there at the bottom, and we run those on year-to-date and quarterly-to-date so that we can see what the financial performance is of a program within each quarter and manage the business more effectively. Because Unanet is a real-time accounting system, our project and management professionals find this as an extremely useful tool to be able to know how program costs, both materials and direct labor, are hitting their program, and how those program costs are translating into positively or negatively the net gains on their project. So at Synaptech, our program managers are bonused on the profitability of their programs and also how they are performing in terms of the customer satisfaction. So these for our business are a big deal. In our company, it's said that the program manager is the most powerful person in the company, or individual or position within the company, and that's because they have the decision-making authority to run their programs, and Unanet is a big part of making that happen for them. So the juicy part, this is the part that puts most people to sleep, but probably the reason some of you are there. The DCAA is the entity within the federal government that's responsible for certifying accounting systems, but also signing off on cost plus fixed fee, at least from a rate pools perspective. In order to get your accounting system approved, you need to have at least one contract or more that require the DCA approval. Rather lengthy process to go through, but for Synaptech, we were able to achieve that by securing the Seaport E program. That's a popular Navy IDIQ that requires a DCA approved accounting system. So one of the first things you need to do with your accounting system is build a disclosure statement. There's a lot that goes into building up your financials, your cost pools, your fringe, all those elements that make up your accounting system and your indirect and your direct pools, which allows you to intelligently manage the business. In the coming slides, there's a few slides that have obviously what most companies consider very sensitive and private information, so most of it is whited out for that reason. But this URL on the screen, I would encourage each of you who are interested in doing this for your companies to go to this, and you can find out a wealth of information about what you need to do and what gyrations you need to go through to get your accounting system approved. So these are the major elements that make up your rate proposal, beginning with, as I said earlier, the disclosure statement. I will tell you that for Synaptech, it was a little bit of an eye-opening moment, because we always thought that you submit your rate proposal and someone comes out with a magic wand and blesses your rate proposal, and that's not at all how it works. You submit your rate proposal, you submit your fringe, your indirects, your provisionals, what goes into those, what your allowables, your unallowable cost exposures are, and you provide all of that in a detailed document. But you do not get a formal approval from the government. If you're expecting one, you'll be waiting a long time because that won't happen. The way you ultimately get approval is you run a piece of cost plus fixed fee work, and during a quick rate review or during the reporting of a closed period, you provide your actuals against your provisionals, and that's when you find out whether or not there's any problems with your rate proposal. So if there is a problem with your rate proposal, they will tell you, but otherwise no news is good news. So for Synaptech, that all began with building a detailed chart of accounts. I can't overemphasize hiring an accountant that has experience in doing a chart of accounts that will allow you to map out what are allowable expenses versus unallowable expenses. Things that are within bounds and out of bounds will keep you from getting into trouble early on. So that would be dollars well spent. Synaptech uses Dixon Hughes Goodman. They have been really helpful in guiding us through that. You'll see here on the right a screen snap of Unanet, and one of the things that is really wonderful about Unanet is each year you set up targets for your physicals, and your annual for each physical boundary or each year you set up an actual, your provisionals, and then you can measure against your actuals. And this is a really strong feature within the Unanet platform because it allows you to manage and budget towards managing what your overall wrap rates be against your cost pools for fringe, GNA, and M&H, which are all key wrappers that all of us manage our businesses to as we go after and compete for business within the market. And for us, the number one contributor is, as it is, I'm sure for many of you, is the increased cost of medical care expenses as they go into these. But the wonderful part about Unanet and a properly built a chart of accounts is it allows you to see exactly what's contributing to those cost pools, and allows you to make intelligent decisions about how you want to offer benefits to your employees, how your GNA and your M&H expenses are being coded into your system, and to make the appropriate staffing decisions to manage your business with each fiscal year. So for us, this has been a powerful tool at being able to manage the business and know each year what we're getting into from a competitive landscape perspective. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I want to thank you all for your time.